Hey everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on unlocking growth with business intelligence, how business intelligence can drive your business forward. Before we begin, I just want to do a quick commercial plug. We have upcoming Basconnect conferences in Toronto and Vancouver. So if you are in either of those two metro areas, I invite you to check this out. It's a great one-day session. You get to come meet a lot of the experts in the industry. People like Nima and the folks at Nectari will be there. And it's a great opportunity just to learn about how you can grow and expand your Sage solutions and what the new technologies that are out there. So moving on, welcome to everyone to today's webinar on business intelligence. I think this is going to be a great conversation. We will have some quick introductions. We'll go through some of the key highlights that are facing BI today, and then we'll leave ample time left for a demo and then some Q&A at the end of it. Everyone is on mute today, so if you have questions, please do use the Q&A function in the GoToWebinar control panel. And with that, let's get started. So Nima, welcome. Thanks for joining us today. Glad you could take some time out of your day. I know it's always one of the best parts of my job is when I get to talk to the other partners like you. So thanks for being here.
Likewise. Yeah, thanks for having us.
So Nima, just to jump in, I mean, Nectari's been around since 2002. I mean, I think you've been a longstanding partner with Bass. But for those that aren't familiar with Nectari, I wonder if you could just tell us a little bit about the company and the mission that your organization's on.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start off with the mission and then I'll explain what we do. Basically, our mission is really to empower users to get their information that they need to make their business decisions. And it's really important for us and pivotal. So what we do, Nectari, is one of the ISV solutions that has been white labeled by Sage for many, many years. We're also known as Sage Enterprise Intelligence. We are the BI and data management solution for many different product lines of Sage. So whether you're a Sage 300 customer or a Sage X3 or Intact, and this is a solution that will give you advanced reporting, advanced analytics, KPIs, pre-integrated, pre-populated with a ton of reports. And our goal, like I said, our mission, but also I would say furthermore, is that we always develop things for it to be self-service and easy to use. And that's kind of what has distinguished us really in the market to be one of the most easy tools to use and deploying across many customers and many users. So we're a company based out of Montreal, Canada. So we're right here in Canada for those of you who are local. And we've been in the Sage space for a very, very long time. But the white label agreement for Sage Enterprise Intelligence has been since 2013. So we've done a lot of these webinars, Bass being one of our top partners. We always try to meet with you customers and present the latest and greatest, and also just to talk about BI and your needs in this ever-changing economy.
So jumping kind of right in, if we start kind of with the big picture, today's business landscape, what are some of the biggest challenges organizations face when it comes with growth and decision making?
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very important to manage all the data sets that you're going to get, because I think what we've all noticed is a big change from, let's say, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, where we only had one data system and some people were using it and others were kind of just working with, in a different manner. But right now, with the set of volume that is growing of your data, I think decision making becomes so critical if you don't look at your data itself. It really causes a lot of problems when you're looking at your business and going with a gut feeling and not really all the data that's being entered into your systems. Now, what's really important to mention is that there's also inefficiencies. I mean, it could be that the data is kind of scattered everywhere. People are being asked to do manual reporting, and this is kind of a challenge that a lot of customers are facing. They pretty much have reliance on one person or one department to gather information. It can become, not always is, a bottleneck, which then gives you issues. And also, is it secure the way we're sharing the data and all that? So, is it compliancy? These are all very important challenges that organizations are facing as we go into this changing world of data everywhere, cloud data, cyber attacks, and just overall decision making on data, because I think it's, as they say, it's one of the most valuable resources, is your own data of an organization. So definitely important to be able to navigate with a proper solution. Otherwise, the challenges will catch up to you.
That's fantastic. So I wonder if you could just highlight a couple of the ways that the business intelligence can really help organizations overcome some of those challenges that you were talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is definitely an important factor is organizations need one source of truth, right? A tool that is designed to give you the right and secure and accurate information in a real time, near real time uh, manner, so that you can actually be able to trust the data that you're looking at. Otherwise, I think that businesses might not be able to, if they're still looking at other information and different reports, or just not looking at data altogether, they may continue to face these challenges. Also, reducing, I would say, human errors, because it's not human errors per se, but it's who has access to what and how they're compiling it together. Is it being used after? Whereas all of this should be automated. It should be automated, like when you sit in your car and you're started and you expect it to go, you should be able to open your report and have the information that you need. So it should be very much automated in that sense as well. Also, to overcome it, I think you need to empower your users. It can't just be that one person has access to all the data and through a BI. It's everybody should be trained and everybody should be able to access it, because more and more in every role we're all making decisions, either minor decisions or major decisions, but it all entails into making your business move forward. So having the right access, but also being able to give the access because it's in a self-sufficient manner to access the data is a very important part of this business organizations.
That's great. I mean, yeah, a lot of insightful things there. So, um, when it comes to that competitive advantage, I mean, how can BI help with that? Is there any things that it does really that can help these people on the call here kind of drive their businesses forward?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we already know how important it is to the speed of your decision making, identifying, you know, KPIs, and then noticing if they're not in going in the right direction. The faster you can address those situations, the better for your organization. And also the same thing is true with the opposite. If something is working well in your organization and you're seeing the numbers go up, some sort of a shift in the consumers and habits and the services or the way the efficiencies because you have new equipment. All this to say that you absolutely need to monitor these things, and that will give you a quicker response time into making changes and ultimately being more efficient. Um, Imagine seeing a trend amongst your consumers, customer insight analysis, things like that. I think without that, you're kind of blind as to knowing what can we do better. And whereas your competitor may have that insight and may be able to take advantage of some gaps and places in the space that you're not addressing, but could have. So I think as a competitive advantage, I think all solutions, not just the BI and data analytics, but I think all solutions serve that purpose. But BI is really one of the most important in the sense that the output is helping you then really identify and pinpoint down where and when we can do things better at an organizational level. Um, for example, we know how pivotal a CFO is, or financial director, and all these roles are. They have to track profitability, cash flow. I mean, these are extremely important to stay healthy. I mean, we know in geopolitics and all that, there's different rules that are changing every day without getting into too much detail about that. So we have to be on top of that. And there's even an aspect of doing some what if analysis. What if we do bring it 25% or 15% or whatnot? So that you need a tool to support all those things. And I think that's very important to, it's a competitive advantage, just so not also falling behind is also an advantage, right? So definitely those are the points.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, being able to do those what if scenarios, especially in the current climate, is key. Now, I know that Nectari, I mean, you've worked with hundreds, I mean, probably thousands of different businesses over the years. I mean, is there a couple of standout examples you could say of, hey, these people, once they implemented the tool, they really embraced the power and what it could do. And maybe you could share some of the successes that others have had.
Yeah, yeah, certainly. I mean, it comes down to a few things, right? Some of our customers, with their BI deployment and using Nectari SCI, have come back and told us, and they even have a success story. But basically, it always comes down to a few things, right? One is we've cut short our month end, our year end, our quarter ends by X number of days. I mean, that's days back in your pocket so that you can improve other processes and improve other parts of the business. The other one, and an example I can give actually is from a mid-sized manufacturing company. They kind of relied on traditional reporting methods. Each system had its own reporting tool, and really the KPIs were not cross systems. So what ended up happening is that after they implemented an SEI and they discovered that one of our best-selling products was actually not as profitable as we thought, because now we can really merge the costs and the sales numbers and the forecast all together in one. And they really identified that kind of earlier, although they knew, they didn't know to what extent. So then they quickly, uh, changed the way that they were working. They made some changes, and also what was important, they actually started collaborating a lot more on the information. So whereas one person had one set of data and another person had another set of data, everything siloed. The reports started to get automated across multiple departments, and I think people all noticed, and they started to negotiate better pricing with the suppliers. They streamlined certain things because they realized, oh, we're not as efficient as we thought. So, I mean, that's a huge, huge difference, right? And it all comes down to the bottom line, and you have to make the right amount of profit. So, this was just one example, but they're all very similar in the sense that saving time or finding little drop-offs in efficiency and things like that, or being able to have more eyes on a set of data that before you couldn't, that should have, right? So collaboration as well. So that was
Yeah, that's
just a few examples.
that's fantastic. And I think you touched on a lot of companies working with various systems. You know, so how can BI integrate those existing workflows and technology? So like you say, get to that single source of truth.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, I mean, we're also a user of BI internally. I'm sure Bass is also using reporting in BI internally. We're all kind of using it. So, I mean, in terms of workflow, it, I'll actually start with the technology first. First of all, you need a tool that can fetch your information, whether it be on a on-premise
Hmm.
server, and you have data sitting in a server somewhere in-house, or you've built a solution in-house. It's not even a Sage product, an outside Sage product. You need to fetch that information. So being able to go fetch it in real time or almost real time, if you want to build a data warehouse, that can also help you, because then you could pull in data. For example, if you were in the market to buy a new CRM today, you're practically going to see half of them or most of them pushing you towards the cloud anyways. So you need your tool to be able to fetch data on the cloud, fetch data on premise, combine it all together in a data warehouse. And also, don't forget, we can also fetch information in like high volume. It's got to be scalable. It's not like a free version, a light version of a software that can only get you to a certain percentage of space and storage, and it blocks you right there. So you got to think long term. You got to think a solution that has data management, that has the BI front end and back end, and really can connect to any APIs. Um, what I want to say about workflows, I think the workflows, it's like a company culture thing. So like any other change, culture change in a company, and I think it's very important to make it accessible, give different users what they need, ask them what they need, what KPIs they need, build those out, and I think a natural progression will be, oh, I have my information, it lives here, and now I can rely on this report to do my job better. And you just gotta properly define those KPIs. You gotta properly use. If it's a pre-built report, that's fine too, but it's you have to identify which user needs access to what, who should get it automated, sent to their inbox if they don't want to go into the system, but ultimately slowly get everyone towards the same reports, if once they're designed properly and they're validated, and everything is on point. Um, Also, I think accessibility in the sense of I am used to going into my Sage ERP. I go Sage Intacct, I go Sage 300 web screen, whatever. And having a Nectari or SCI screen dashboard or view directly embedded there, that also increases adaptability and getting people to use it more in their existing workflows because they're already going to these screens, they're already using these solutions, and now they have a output of reporting right there or a dashboard that is very meaningful to them on their journey, a day-to-day working path journey. So I think just getting it all in implementing it slowly but surely into different aspects of the business.
Yeah, it's great. You're talking a lot there about different workflows. Now, do you think there's a mind shift that's required for these companies to truly embrace business intelligence? And if there is, I mean, what is it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, uh, the mind shift is first of all prioritizing data, meaning when you're having your meetings, not just to if you're going to make a decision, also have some data to back it up. This is the one way to do it. Build that culture of data-driven decision making. Starts with the leadership, obviously. You can't have the leaders not doing it and everyone else having to do it. However, there's always some departments that are more hungry for these types of reports, so they will adopt it a little bit easier and maybe start there, get some success going into those departments. I think operationally some reporting is very important and needed, financially as well, but in a different way. Um, I think it shouldn't be that their data is organizational data is a byproduct of operations, but rather it should be one of the core business resources. And I think fostering a culture that supports data and not replaces human judgment is also important because people are afraid that if we just have these reports, then their decision making or their jobs are at risk as well. And just explaining that this is an additional tool, training them to understand that this is now your assistant, and we'll get to some with AI and stuff. I mean, it's only going to get more and more about getting tools to assist us. But being a data-driven culture, I think everyone will realize that, oh, this helps me do my job, not replaces me. And also breaking down silos. How many departments, how many department heads or people at any level are just not clear about how things are going in the other department? And I think that's a very, very important point so that the data is not too siloed, a little bit more sharing, collaborating of information. And I think that slowly but surely, I mean, the mindset comes from leadership, but also has to be accessible and easy to do. So I think it's important. And finally, continuous learning, right? If training is required, that's always very helpful. I think the embracing BI as like ongoing journey rather than oh, we implemented it, we have those two reports and we just let it go. No, but using it more for your next needs and your next requirements because it can really fulfill a lot of different needs in different ways. So regularly revisiting your KPIs is also a good one as well.
It's great. Yeah, I think there's a lot of great tips in there. So now, when it comes to that implementation side of things, in addition to a shift in mindset, what are the key steps that organizations should look towards to ensure a successful BI implementation?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's gotta be. It's very important to think to yourself, what is it that I need to be able to run it more efficiently? And with that business goals, let's say with those business goals, you'll be able to identify maybe some KPIs, KPIs that you already have the data, but you're just not looking at it in that way. So defining your goals and then leads to defining some KPIs. I think that's a very important step in this, ensuring that it deploys well and that it's successful. Also defining, do we just want data from one data source, or do we always have that set of data that's in an Excel file sitting there and only one person has access? So thinking bigger, being able to push not the limits, but push the process currently in place into a more refined and streamlined one source of truth. But getting everything into one place, I think is very important and not leaving any gaps of data. Because when a tool like a BI solution like SEI or Nectari is as powerful as it is, if it's not being utilized, it can then lead to, utilized to its full capacity or at least 80% of its capacity, it can be seen as a little bit of a risk for it to not be so successful. It's really getting it fully adopted and across everything. I would also say, um, in terms of security, in terms of, I think that people are used to sharing so much information on Excel files by email. Sometimes it could be a bit risky, so it could be sensitive information. Knowing the fact that the data they're opening in their BI tool and their colleague sitting across the country who's also opening that same report can see the same data is very important, because that way there doesn't need to be files going around or different, I would say, reports at different times were created or saved somewhere on the network, and some of the information is not very, easy to access and otherwise. So, anyways, just basically, yeah, just gathering the feedback from the team, then optimizing it on based on their goals, and the BI being at the core of it all.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So just before we kind of jump into the demo portion of things, if I were a business leader watching today, and I took just one action from this to improve my use of BI for the organization, what would that be?
Yeah, I mean, it's really to identify critical business questions that keep you up at night. Like, I think that what would you really want to have, and then start there. Because every business thinks like, oh, if I just had that one more information, it'd be great if I can also compare that data to that data. It would be great to have a report that tells me how everything is going before it happens. So trend analysis, predictive analysis, things like that. You must sit and think about it. And what are those questions? And then that's where basically a BI solution has many functions and ways of helping. I think without a doubt, we all have a lot of different requirements, but we sometimes don't believe that it can be resolved in a solution. Whereas when you do have a BI, when you do design it properly, it can actually really help um, your decision making. It can improve your profitability. It can improve uh, basically just give you your a visual representation of your organization, have a 360 view of your business. I think that's the number one thing, is just understand what's keeping you up at night in terms of what data you don't have or what information you don't have, and try and see how that can be implemented into a report or a dashboard, because in more often than not, that can make things a lot more efficient and help you run your business.
That's great. So, yeah, I think now, I mean, we should probably jump into the demo part here. I mean, I think that's
Sure.
a lot of great information. So I'm just going to pass control here to you. And yeah, if you want to walk us through kind of the high level view of Nectari, I think that'll be great.
All right, perfect. I will just move this over here. Okay, so we'll just go through a quick, for those who haven't seen the solution, let me just quickly explain how it works. I've connected to my Sage Enterprise Intelligence demo data here for the Sage 300 integration. I could have done this on X3, Sage Intacct, and all the other ones. I could still switch to and from any of those. But typically, I think based on our audience and whatnot, a few of you are on Sage 300, some are on Intacct. Just know that if it says Sage Enterprise Intelligence at the top left, it's also Nectari for Sage Intacct and some other of the product lines. So it all works the same. It's just a branding. Um, Integrated solutions is the most important factor when you're looking at a BI for your Sage system. Integrated, not just meaning I can publish a report and just see one screen, but rather all of this out of the box, categorized data models, views, reports. And as you can see here, sorry for the screen was a little too big, you have your AR, your AP integration modules, you have your financial integration, your sales history, PJ, project job costing, purchasing, inventory, and order entry, and so on and so forth. And just FYI, this is all the Sage 300 modules, but as we all know, there's also add-ons and third-party solutions. And one of the more popular ones is Service Manager, Auto Simply. So there's integration out of the box from day one with SEI for these solutions. So make sure that that's a requirement of yours, because what that allows you to do is basically open up any report, and right away from day one, you're going to see a report that is fully functioning with your data set. This is going to show me my demo data set. And the first thing I could tell you right now is that we're looking at a consolidated environment. So I'm combining data from two companies of Sage 300 into one screen. So the numbers are actually combined. In order to demonstrate that, I can go here on the right-hand side of the panel, drag in our company code, and we could see we have two companies, Sam Inc., Sam Ltd. When I drill down, I could see that which customers sold to which company. I can also pivot by this, and I could put maybe the transaction here as such. So now we're looking at a data set really quickly and efficiently in SEI, where I'm able to drag and drop, drill down, change the layout of a report. Let's say in 2019, I have these customers, and I'm comparing my net sales in in company Sam Inc. versus Sam Ltd. So I can see that pivoted, and I can see which company is selling more of which. Same thing also in 2020. It's just a simple drill down. Because I have it grouped by transaction year and customer code, and then by period. So I think it makes more sense to put the period as a second level, drill down into month one, and we could see we only had one customer who has transactions in 2019, and I could see exactly what it is. Now, what does the end user want to do in this situation? The end user wants to bring in more information. So that's why the pre-built data models are so important, because I can go ahead and say, look, I want, for example, we already have the customer, but maybe we could bring in the product code, or rather we could bring in the product description. So these are all the, there we go. Bring that here, product code. And then I want to also bring in maybe something like a order number, or let's put that there, order date. And if I have a document number, there we go. All right, so now when we can maybe put the company up here and not pivot it. So now I can drill down into one of these, Sam Inc., month one, we saw the same transaction here. And now I could see exactly what invoice number, what order number, what date, and which product was purchased. And I could actually see the line items. So I could see the dry erase whiteboard, net sales 271, and the bulletin board 53. Let's actually filter on this right now. Filter on this customer, and we're going to bring in just one more information easily here and say I want the quantity sold of those products, and I want the cost. So as you can see, these are, to be able to get these reports right now out of a system, it requires a lot of extra steps and whatnot, whereas when it's integrated like it is with SEI for your Sage ERP, this is the behavior and the navigation you're going to experience. So 3 bulletin boards were purchased at $53 at $23 cost, and I could see the same with here, 24 purchased at that. Again, it's very easy to navigate, but also it's very easy to learn. So at any given time, you have the about, online help, you have the e-learning access, you have a lot of different things that you can take advantage of. But one of the things I really like is how easy and intuitive it is, regardless whether how much you learn. So right now I have a few filters: transaction year 2019 and 2020, and customer ID 1520. Let's remove the customer ID. So you can see that I've now brought back all the customers. So now it's not just 1520, Stephen Kershaw, Ronald Black is back, Bargain Mart, San Diego, Oakland. All this information is back. I'm able to load it in a matter of seconds, and I'm able to actually just click sharing and do an export. Multiple formats of my choice. I could do this from my mobile devices or my tablets as well. Ultimately, you'll be able to open up a report here. Let me just see if it went on my other screen. It did. So now you can see that same report that I was pulling in. Remember, consolidating two companies and all that. I can have all the details now in Excel. This is now a static version of it, so I can email it to anybody. Steve can get a copy. He's not a Nectari SEI user. It doesn't matter. He can have a copy. Again, there will be security restrictions on who can do this and what, but everything can be managed. And what's nice is that it even keeps the grouping levels. So if I want to group everything by month, by year, by customer, or even drill down to the detail, so you have a summary level and a detail level, just in a few clicks. So now that we save this report, save as sales by customer, Nima Mass. All right. I could decide, do I want to publish this for a group of users or just leave it as is? We'll just leave it as is. Do we want it to save with the filter? Sure. We'll just look at the years 2019 and 2020 where I have my data set. So now if I go back to the original sales by customer, remember the layout where we started? This is where we were at the very beginning. So you don't lose the original work, and instead you do have a sales by customer for Nima, which we just created together, and you get the full layout. Again, this will update and refresh every time you open it. Every time you drill down, it will go fetch the data from Sage and bring it back. Now, if you're in the cloud, it'll fetch the latest data in the data warehouse. If you're on premise and you're connected, it'll fetch the data in real time. You have both options. It depends on your system and how you're looking at the information. Now, one step further I want to take here, I'm going to put the transaction year here. And I just want to show you, like, if you want to do a quick analysis in a different, more visual way, I can actually pull up a different type of view. There's 100 of visualizations, some more advanced, some more basic. Show you, I'll just give an example of a bullet graph. A bullet graph is basically great for things like actual versus budget because the bar could be the actuals, which continuously grow. Imagine on a project, imagine on a expense account. You have your actuals, and then the line is the budget. So you can actually visually see a representation of how far you've come close or how far you are from your actual budget. Same thing with production capacities and things like that, or last year's sales versus this year. Those are great for analysis as well. What I'll do next is I'll just click vertical bar chart.
You need
SEI recognizes you want a vertical bar chart with the same information you were just looking at. So it tells you have 52K sales in 2019 and 114K in the following year in 2020. What's nice is that it kept my groups as well. So I can drill down into 2020 and I can see all the customers here. Then it's very intuitive and easy. If I want to change the chart properties, I can do so just like this. I can do something like give me pages, give me, I don't know, only 5 per page. So when I do that, I'll get pagination for my report. Okay, maybe I don't want to do that. I'll go back to my properties and I'll put that back to, I don't know, 1,000, doesn't matter. And what I'd like to do instead is maybe make the label orientation a little different. So I'll put 25 here. So now I can see my customer names a little bit easier. I want to go back further and say, look, I want my labels. I want to show my labels. It says 11K, the value itself, maybe the label and the value. We can have the customer name up there. We want the value, and maybe we want the numeric value. So we get the full amount if we want to see it like that. So now we basically have this report. We can also do a save as Nima as graph or chart rather. I'll
you
explain
need
why I'm saving this because we're going to actually show you an example in a second. So ultimately, now that you see how many different types of visualizations we can actually go into the dashboard aspect of it. So whether it's a financial dashboard or a product dashboard or a customer dashboard, we can actually pull it up. I should have checked if my UDM was loaded in this environment. It should be. Yep, it is. So I can see, oh, I don't have a working example of the map, which I do in my other environment, but essentially, this is a dashboard comprised of 1, 2, 3, and 4 different views types. Like the one's a bar graph, a combination graph rather. One is just a bar graph. One is the Google Maps engine, so it could plot customers at the point of your city. You can literally zoom in and go down into the street level. This is just Google Maps, and it'll plot your customers or your warehouses or your prospects or your employees exactly based on their location. And then you also have like your reports here and whatnot. So one thing that's really nice is that I can remove any section of this and just drag and drop in what we had built a moment ago. So let's bring in the charts. There you go. Now it's a fully functioning report. If I click this here and say, look, when I click on this value, I want it to filter everything. So now what happens is that
you need
On the bottom right, we just added a new graphic. We have 2020 versus 2019.
you need
I'm gonna clear this filter here. There you go. So if I click on 2019 now, the data will reset. Oops, sorry. The data here will reset rather, excuse me. If I click on this product and if I want to reset, it will refresh everything else on my screen. I can also program it for this guy to talk to this guy and vice versa. Everything on the screen can really affect each other any which way you want. You also have the filtering panel at the top. So that's why you can also just add it as a filtering panel. If I want to add bill and do a filter, I'll see just bills, customer sales, and growth numbers and whatnot. This was just one example. Maybe I'll give another one quickly. And this is the bullet graph I was speaking about earlier, last year versus this year. You can see the Courtyard customer has way surpassed last year's values. We could see the fluorescent desk lamp has sold a lot more as a product. I can also filter on a specific customer if I want. I could filter on their, if I have statistical groups of customers, if I, East Coast, West Coast, whatever I need. And essentially you have a 12-month trend and you can see the dip or the spikes at which points they were based on the calendar month. If I go on month 2, it will show me just the value there. If I clear that, it'll show me all 12 months. You can set it up any way that you want. One of the nice things is that for anybody using the web screens, you can also embed Sage Enterprise Intelligence directly in these screens. So if I go, for example, to dashboards and I pull up, I don't know, an inventory kind of dashboard, I want to know where my products are and which location, I want to see how much I have of each, this can be an easy setup. This is a fully dynamic dashboard. Okay, so I can actually remove any aspect of this, expand this, have the filters change. I can also do toggling things like the look and feel of it. I can basically customize this however I want because even though I'm within Sage, it's a fully functional BI solution. If I go back to my SCI web here and say, here, I'm going to load this here. And if I go look for Nima, I can see I have my 2 reports here as well. So you can either publish one single report or you can publish pretty much the whole solution of SEI embedded in your screen. And really imagine having role-based dashboards for each profile in your company. I think it'll be a huge thing for your managers or C-level or even end users on a day-to-day basis. And finally, before I wrap up, so that if we need to take any questions, I would like to speak about the workbooks. Now, think of the workbooks as because our solution is not just a web-based BI, it also works on your mobile device, it also works on your tablets. It also has an Excel add-in. We don't have enough time to show you the Excel add-in tool itself, but we've actually evolved the Excel add-in and started to create an Excel-like reporting built into the web screen. So allow me to pull up what we call the workbooks. And in the workbooks here, I'll just filter on 2020 where my data set is. So
you
on the
need
workbooks, what you're going to notice right away is that you have kind of a tabs at the top, home, insert, page layout, functions, all these great things that it's basically like Microsoft Excel, and you have your columns and you have your rows. So everything is basically like Microsoft Excel. You even have formulas here where it's telling you this minus this equals this. So if you're comfortable with just working with functions and this and that, all of this is connected. Where the beauty of this comes into play is the analysis tab. The analysis tab is what goes fetches your data no matter what data model you're in, whether it's a Sage data model, whether it's a service manager, AutoSimply, if you connect it to Salesforce, if you connect it to any third-party solution. A lot of us have e-commerce now. If you have an e-commerce solution, you want to bring in that data. All of it works with now the analysis tab because you're in this workbook screen. And one thing that's really nice, you can obviously change the filters. I change it to month 6. You see in a few seconds, it'll refresh the date. So it says June 30th, and it'll refresh the values as well accordingly. I have, let me zoom in a bit. I have an actual column versus budget, so I could have selected the budget of my choice. I have a variance dollar, which is a regular Excel formula, and I have a variance percentage, which is an if error formula. I have the year to date columns and the month to date. This is one of the, I would say, 15 to 20 reports pre-delivered mostly for financials. And you can see it all right here in the list. You can also build dashboards here. And what's really, really nice is that you can drill down. You can see that you have multiple values within these accounts. If I click on the cost of goods sold, it tells me it's three different transactions, one for this journal entry and one for this one. And I could ultimately see the values that's summed up to here. Very easy to build these reports. We're short on time. I would have shown a quick demonstration, but I want to be respectful of the Q&A session as well. So I'll leave it to Steve to let me know because I can't see the screen.
That's fan- fantastic, Nima. I mean, yeah, a lot of great stuff there. Love the different visualizations and just how easy it is to move those around and get exactly what people want to see. So with that, yeah, we'll move to kind of the Q&A section now. So if there are any questions, go ahead, please, put those into the chat window there, and we'll just give those a few minutes. But yeah, and again, I mean, we'll put the contact information up at the end. But
Yeah,
if people do want to see those other features, be happy to schedule some time for you to walk them through those. So okay,
yeah,
so the one question comes in here, which I think we get in most of our webinars is what's the typical implementation time?
yeah. No,
So
that's
how long would that
that.
take to connect all those different data sources together?
Yeah, yeah. So I would say that when you're talking about a deployment of this solution for your Sage product, that is a relatively short deployment in the sense that you have out-of-the-box reports, KPIs, data models delivered. Of course, there's a whole customization after that you can do to it. It could be a big project, it could be a small project. We can't really identify that here, but we hope that the templates and the work that we've done all these years to develop these data models is getting you there at 75, 80% for your business, because then you saw how easy it was to drag and drop. Just scratching all that aside, just an installation, a deployment, creating the users and whatnot, and maybe taking some training, I would say it's around the 3 to 4 days. And 3 to 4 days is with everything up and running and having the kind of the keys in your hands. And then after, if you have the team who wants to dig in and do it themselves, there's that. And then if not, Bass is your partner, and Bass can also do any customization. Where I would just say is harder to determine the deployment or the implementation is a non-Sage product, a non-integrated product. Because now we're kind of going into the unknown. How big is this other solution? Are the API connectors clear, easy? Do you have the information about which connectors, which data set we want to pull from this cloud solution and whatnot? It really depends on your level of yours or your consulting or whoever, the third party is consultant is, if they know the back end of it well enough. It could be quick, it could be a bit longer because there's some analysis that has to be done. But the Sage side, which we're all here for that, first step is getting a BI for our Sage solution. I would say around 3, 4 days in your with training and everything. So that could be a great starting point.
That's fantastic. You get up and running in a week. I think, yeah, that's amazing. One other question that came in. I mean, what would be an estimated implementation cost, and kind of what would the licensing fees look like? And I know that's always a tricky question because there's a lot of variable that goes into it. But I wonder if you could just kind of ballpark us maybe some numbers.
Yeah, certainly. I guess for the implementation fee and cost, if you can just think of it as hourly or daily rates that you currently have right now, and just multiply by 3 or 4 days, that could give you with the training, everything included. So I think that'll give you a rough idea about what it is. In terms of the license, I would say that it has SEI has been known for a very low entry point in terms of price. It starts around, I think, don't quote me on this, Canadian US dollar, I always mix it up, but around 1500 annually to start. Maybe 1700 in Canadian actually. So 1700 annually to start, and that gives you all the reporting, all even gives you a full user included, so you don't have to buy a user. You can connect to your Sage product without, anything extra. However, if you're in the cloud, if you're a Sage Intacct customer, you have to consider that we also likely don't have servers in-house, so we'll also host Nectari, and there's a little bit of an extra fee there. So I want to say between 2000 and 5000 annually would be a very good starting point, depending on who the customer and what product line they're using and what they're trying to achieve. But between 2 to 5,000, and then it's just a matter of how many users extra you want. It could be fit into that 5,000, or it could be outside of it if it's in the multiple users.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, we are kind of running right up against time. So if you have any of the other questions that we didn't get a chance to get in the chat, we will follow up with those separately. So just to kind of wrap up, it's been incredibly insightful, Nima. Thank you very much for sharing not only the demo, but your wisdom and years experience in here. And again, anyone, if you are in the Toronto or Vancouver area, I invite you to check out Bass Connect. For more information, you can go to bass.com/events. If you're interested in learning more about Nectari and the solution you saw here today, you can reach out to your Bass account manager. You can also just drop us an email at marketing@bass.com. And with that, Nima, again, thanks for being here. Thanks everyone for joining us. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye for now.